Good evening. So, I don't know if y'all have heard of the Trojan horse before. We're going to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about history, and then we're going to roll this into a lesson I believe all of us can benefit from. So, that's an artistic depiction of Trojan horse. Of course, they didn't have, Polaroids back then. The year that everybody says on the internet this happened was around 1200 BC. And I like tying stuff into when Bible things happen. So also, from what I read, it's about the time that Joshua and the conquest of Canaan and all that stuff kind of happened. So they wouldn't really have met at this time, the Greeks and the Trojans wouldn't have, but they kind of can put your mind on kind of the technology of the day. So let me tell you a little bit about the Trojan horse and the Trojan War. It all kind of started because, the Greeks had their Greek goddesses and Aphrodite and all that stuff. And, well, they didn't really like that the Trojans and the Greeks were fighting about that. The Trojan prince, I think his name was Paris, he stole basically the Spartan king's wife. He thought she was very pretty, so he decided that needs to be a wife. Brought her back to Troy. The Greek world didn't like that, so they went to attack the Troy kingdom Trojans. So if I might be butchering this a little bit, but that's not really the point of the story. So they fought for about 10 years, and then they decided, hey, we've got a plan, the Greeks did. So they took a lot of the ships apart. They made something like a Trojan horse. It's always depicted on wheels, and you'll kind of figure out why it's depicted on wheels in a minute. It's always depicted that way. And they had a bunch of their elite soldiers climb in, be real quiet. All the ships made a point to make it like they were sailing away over the horizon, and they left this behind with some soldiers inside. The Trojans looked out and said, "Oh, cool, a horse," and they brought it inside their city. Now, speculation is why they would do such a thing. I kind of like that, hey, they worshiped the god Athena. Athena was like the goddess of hunting and wisdom and war. She rode a horse. Oh, cool, that's going to help us worship Athena. Let's bring that inside. So, how does that even apply to us today? Well, let me tell you. First of all, let's look at 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. Okay? So think about it. We also have a computer term called a Trojan horse virus. So what that is that's like a piece of software that you may download that sounds really good at the time, but then when you get in your computer, I don't know, some keystroke you may do, be on a time or something, and it just completely wrecks your computer or steals data or does something. There's something inside that's bad. So we've got the Trojan army, or the Greek army is inside this Trojan horse. Well, the Trojans think they've won. Let's have a party. So they have a party and they get distracted by whatever goes on in the party. And at about that time, the Greek soldiers jump out. They open the gates of the city. The Greek ships have made a U-turn. They all come back. They go inside. They ransack the city and destroy Troy. And the Greeks win. All because they brought in this horse. Now, were they doing fine without the horse inside? Sure they were. Did they need this horse for anything? Not really. They were doing just fine. But because they thought something was neat and cool and they brought it inside, it had something bad in it that they didn't inspect. So, how does that apply to us? Well, there may be a TV show we watch. There may be a group of people that we want to hang out with. There may be a building or a venue or an activity that we may want to go do. The devil knows what we like. The Trojan horse only worked because the Trojans liked horses. And they brought it inside. There was something they enjoyed. But yet we can do the same thing in our lives, and there can be something bad in it. See, let me give you, for example, like a TV show. It can be really awesome and fun and cool to watch. But you may start seeing some sprinkles of things that we shouldn't be watching. There may be some language. There may be some scenes in there that, nobody should really be watching. Like, why do they got to do that with that TV show? I've said that a lot. So why do they got to put that in this TV show? That ruins it. Well, it's for a reason. okay? It tries to get us more comfortable because the devil is looking for ways to entice us. It says so in 1 Peter 5. It says so in James that, sin doesn't come from God, and sin comes from ourselves, where our own desires lead to sin, lead to death. It all comes from the things we like, and the devil knows what we like, so he provides those to us. So what do? How do we fix this? Well, let's first look at 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 20 through 21. Verse 21 and 22. Test all things, hold fast what is good, abstain from every form of evil. Test all things. Well, that's fine. What do we test them against? Well, if you look at Philippians 4:8, it gives you a nice list of things to put things through. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any virtue and if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. So I would encourage you to inspect your life. If there's anything you've let come into your life that's not on this list, or if you've noticed anything that's creeping kind of out of this list, if you let anything in that you thought was great and wonderful at one time, and might even you thought it was praiseworthy, and you've noticed there's parts of it that are not, you need to start cutting it out of your life. It can be a long process. It can be a hard process. It may involve certain people, but it's something that's necessary we've got to do, because that's just the devil creeping in our lives, looking to devour you. And we know that our lust becomes sin, becomes death. So think about what Trojan horses you've let in your life as we stand and sing.